world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Supervillains Explored. Today I'm going to tackle a character who I have gotten a lot of requests for. And that character is none other than the hellish arch-enemy of Dr. Stephen Strange, the Lord of the Dark Dimension, the Demon Lord, Dormammu. Dormammu is a character that most Marvel fans know of, since he's been in a lot of cartoons, animated films, toys, video games. He's gotten around a lot since his introduction by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko in Strange Tales number 126 in 1964. But before Dormammu was brought into the books, most readers believed Dr. Strange's mortal arch-nemesis to be Baron Mordo, a fellow student of the Ancient One alongside Stephen Strange, who believed himself worthy to become the next Sorcerer Supreme, and was rejected by the Ancient One over Dr. Strange. But as it turned out, Baron Mordo was simply just a pawn of an even greater evil, which was Dormammu. As with all my other videos, I will run through a character's chronological backstory rather than the backstory that is slowly explained over the many decades of comics. Dormammu was born eons ago as a member of a race of celestial beings known as the Faltine. The Faltine drew their life source from pure cosmic energy. Dormammu, along with his sister Umar, began to gather untold amounts of energy to themselves in order to become more powerful. Eventually they both killed their parent Cinnifer, and because of this they were banished from the Faltine dimension. Over time, Dormammu and Umar both discovered the Dark Dimension, which, despite its name, was a very peaceful utopian empire comprised of several races, and ruled by a single king named Ulnar. The most unique characteristic of the Dark Dimension was that it contained several dozens of naturally occurring portals and warps into several other universes and dimensions. This was the most attractive feature to Dormammu and his sister, and what ultimately made them decide to stay in the Dark Dimension. King Ulnar offered Dormammu and Umar shelter in his kingdom, but in exchange, he sought the knowledge of how to absorb the energy of other dimensions and how to truly conquer them. Dormammu helped Ulnar to carve a brutal campaign of destruction across several pocket dimensions over many decades. But when Dormammu led Ulnar to a dimension that was home to a race of monsters called the Mindless Ones, they proved too much for the armies of the Dark Dimension to handle, and eventually Ulnar was killed in battle. After Ulnar's death, Dormammu absorbed the mystic energies of the Dark Dimension, becoming even more powerful than ever before. And in a sense, he became sort of a god, proclaiming himself to be the new monarch of the Dark Dimension. During Dormammu's reign as the ruler of the Dark Dimension, he forged many pacts and rivalries with several other supernatural beings. He brokered a truce with Odin, he joined the Eternity, and fought several times with a mysterious entity within the Earth dimension known as Agamotto. Dormammu would be defeated several times by Agamotto, but not truly destroyed. Another important fact about Dormammu is that he is in a way responsible for the creation of one of Doctor Strange's most important supporting characters, Clea. King Ulnar had a son named Orani, and after Ulnar's death, Orani was raised by both Dormammu and Umar. But when Orani had reached adulthood a few millenniums later, he and Umar would fall in love and mate. Dormammu had just learned of his sister's daughter shortly after she gave birth, and because he was angry at his sister for deceiving him, Dormammu banished Umar to a different pocket universe, leaving him the only ruler. And Orani would become Dormammu's advisor, and he named his daughter Clea. After waiting several eons, Dormammu had set his sights on Earth in the year 1666, being the catalyst of the Great London Fire, and proceeded to begin an invasion through a portal at Stonehenge. However, the newest Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, thwarted Dormammu's plan. This was the beginning of a large animosity between Dormammu and the Ancient One. In the 40s, Dormammu had recruited a new disciple, a Transylvanian nobleman and a student of the Ancient One named Baron Karl Amadeus Mordo. Mordo swore his allegiance to Dormammu by sacrificing his own mother and grandfather to the demon. It's also worth noting that in that same year, the Red Skull had stolen the Eye of Agamotto from the Ancient One in order to broker an alliance with Dormammu, a plan that was ruined by the combined efforts of Captain America, Bucky, and Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. In 1963, however, the Ancient One had recruited a new student, Dr. Stephen Strange, a disgraced surgeon who went through a car accident that had permanently damaged his hands, ending his medical career. With Baron Mordo's help, Dormammu had begun to slowly weaken the Ancient One's powers over the years. Strange, however, had caught on to this, and warned the Ancient One about what Mordo was doing, promptly ending that plan. But the event that ignited Dormammu's hatred for Strange was when he announced a new plan to the Ancient One to conquer the Earth Dimension. Strange had traveled to the Dark Dimension to confront Dormammu about this. After a long battle between Strange and Dormammu, the barrier that contained the monsters known as the Mindless Ones was destroyed accidentally. Strange and Dormammu had ended their battle and worked together to reseal the monsters. Dormammu, realizing he was indebted to Strange for his help, decided to yield. Strange then made Dormammu swear to never attempt to take Earth again, which in turn really pissed Dormammu off and caused him to hate Strange even more than Agamotto and the Ancient One combined. So for many years, Dormammu and Doctor Strange would clash time after time, cementing their rivalry as one of the most intense rivalries in the entire Marvel Universe. Dormammu's plans ranged from kidnapping Clea and Strange, to teaming up with Loki and Doctor Doom, to time traveling, to trying to absorb the energies of the cosmic being known as Eternity, to trying to unleash the Mindless Ones onto Earth, and possessing Doctor Strange's body twice. There was one plan, though, where Dormammu had finally beaten Strange. When the old iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy had traveled back to Earth, to the Earth of the 616 universe, more specifically, Dormammu had followed them back to their native time and attacked them, demanding to battle with the Doctor Strange of that time period, who himself was referred to as the Ancient One. Dormammu had become more powerful by combining his energy with his future self, and that was enough for him to finally kill Strange. But it was a hollow victory, since the Guardians had found a way to transport him back to his own time. The very last exploit of Dormammu in the comics was simply another doomed plan to conquer Earth. Dormammu led an army of Mindless Ones to attack Earth, but this time when Strange had defeated him, he attempted to trap both Dormammu and his sister in the time stream to ensure that they would never show up again. But somehow, both Dormammu and Umar had been exposed to an anomaly in the cosmic axis, which granted them both enough energy and power to defeat the Eternity entity and finally take his power for their own. Using Eternity's powers, Dormammu had remade Earth in his own fiendish image. But something happened. Not only did Doctor Strange and the Defenders oppose him, but his own sister Umar had betrayed him, and ultimately it was her who defeated Dormammu and restored Earth. Dormammu was then transformed into a human, and that's the entirety of his comic book existence. I'm not really the biggest fan of Dormammu, but he is definitely an interesting villain. Probably his most outstanding character trait is his persistence. Dormammu is almost always defeated in some humiliating way by Doctor Strange. And yet he absolutely refuses to give up and let Strange win. Despite the fact that he is constantly beaten, Dormammu's determination is what makes him a decent villain and a worthy arch-nemesis of Strange. And probably why I've gotten so many requests to do a video about him. Well, everyone, that's my video about Dormammu. I hoped you all liked it, and I'll see you later.